All right. Welcome, everyone. My name is Katie Darr. I chair the U.S. Biosphere Network's Communications Committee, and I also coordinate the Champlain Adirondack Biosphere Network. Today is our sort of season one conclusion of the U.S. Biosphere Network's Biosphere Bites seminar series before our summer hiatus. And we will return to our regularly scheduled programming on Wednesday, September 11th. As a reminder, these talks are recorded and will be posted on the U.S. Biosphere Network's YouTube page, which I will link in a minute in the chat. And our usual Zoom housekeeping, if you're not presenting or asking a question, please keep yourself on mute. There will be a Q&A period after the presentation, but you can feel free to put your questions into the chat as they arise, and we'll get to those first during the Q&A period. So at this time, I'd welcome folks to introduce themselves in the chat. And if you're tuning in from a biosphere region today, which one you're tuning in from. And while you do that, I'd like to introduce our speakers today. And in a minute, I will put their full bios into the chat. So you can see the breadth of impressive work that they've been up to. We are so lucky to have Beata Dewitt and Linnea Green from the Congaree Biosphere region with us today. And they'll be talking to us about their work to enhance community engagement and environmental awareness through a community water monitoring project that was developed in partnership with the University of South Carolina's Water Club and the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. So Beata and Linnea, I will turn it over to you now for your presentation. You should be able to share screen, but let me know if you have any problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. I really appreciate that. Linnea, are you ready? I can share my screen.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi again, everyone. This presentation is going to be about a citizen science water monitoring initiative in Lower Richland. So to start off, I'm going to talk a little bit about the background of Lower Richland. So Lower Richland is located near the city of Columbia in South Carolina. It consists of Eastover, Gadsden, East Columbia, and Hopkins. The community experiences many environmental justice concerns, one of them being flooding, which this initiative focuses on. The Lower Richland area lays at a lower elevation than its surrounding areas, which are urbanized, causing stormwater from those areas to accumulate within this community. And lastly, even though Lower Richland is mainly a rural area, it's exposed to many industrial facilities, causing concerns of potential contamination of their natural resources. So here are just some pictures from one of the sampling locations that we have. And just how flooded it's showing how flooded this area can get. As you can see, the bridge entrance is completely covered, and how high the water level is near the bridge, and then also the stairs that's in the second picture are completely covered. And then these are just some follow-up pictures showing the area not flooded, but it's still not down to its normal water level. So you can really see how flooded this area can get. So next, we're going to have Beata talk about how this initiative was started. Up here, you can see the 4 different organizations that are involved in this initiative. So she's going to give a little more background about how we got it started.
Thanks, Linnea. So I wanted to start off talking about EJ Strong, Strengthening Communities for Disaster Risk Reduction, Response, and Recovery in South Carolina. This initiative receives funding from the Environmental Protection Agency, and it's spearheaded at DHEC, but we have a lot of academic institutions, nonprofits, and other entities that are involved to make EJ Strong what it is. That includes the University of South Carolina Arnold School of Public Health, Clemson University, LAMC, which is based in North Charleston. That's the Low Country Alliance for Model Communities, as well as other nonprofits that are involved, such as Sustaining Way, based in Greenville, the Imani Group in Aiken, the Center for Sustainable Communities in Atlanta, Georgia, and we also had the PD Indian tribe that's heavily involved. We mostly comprise of workshops, field practicums, and virtual classes that are conducted to empower community members with the knowledge and skills to identify hazards and concerns within their community, to then effectively respond to hazards when they occur. Mainly as a bow in it would be the community managed risk reduction training. We emphasize collaboration, so not only working like solely with DHEC, but your academic institutions and your nonprofits, as well as other communities across the state, as well as resilience and capacity building. And so some of the deliverables that have been produced since the inception of EJ Strong is air monitoring sensors for particulate matter in the Rosemont community of North Charleston, the Clemson Food Access Map, an EJ web module, and an EJ Strong mobile app that's available for Androids. We also focus more so on underserved communities throughout the state of South Carolina. And some of the topics that we were able to work with communities are unhealthy home conditions such as mold, food insecurities, and energy and weatherization issues. So EJ Strong started working with the Rosemont community in 2021. And then they began working with Lower Richland in November 2022, starting off with the field practicum. And as Lanaya listed all of the industrial areas, we had a chance to look there, as well as being a tour at the old plantations, just to see how rural and historic that the community is. And it's really brings a lot of agriculture importance. And so with just all the hazards that are going on, it really impacts the community in various ways, starting with agriculture, home stability. And this picture right here is just a picture after the practicum with all of our members. I want to highlight that it's not only Lower Richland residents that participated, but we also had participants from North Charleston. So even though we help communities, both communities have been able to support one another in its endeavors as it goes through their own individual issues. That's the best part of this initiative, is the collaboration amongst communities with one another. And just to highlight some of our EJ leaders that come to our meetings and practicums, the special thing about EJ Strong is the community members are hands-on when it comes to the planning and implementation of the work we do with EJ Strong. And so without these leaders, there would not be an EJ Strong. So emphasis on collaboration and involving the community members with our work. So after our field practicum, we identified that for Lower Richland, toxic releases, wildfires, and flooding were very prominent issues. When it comes to toxic release and wildfires, as Lanai was stating, we have a lot of industrial entities that is surrounding the community, but there isn't really a communication system or a rapport between the entities and communities. So a lot of members are concerned of, if something was to happen, like an emergency, how would that entity get in contact with the community to properly evacuate, or the proper steps to address what's going on. And then with flooding, we were drastically affected by the 2015 flood that affected the city of Columbia. And as Lanai was saying, because we're in the lower elevation of the city of Columbia, all of the flood waters that passed Columbia basically accumulated in our community. And it was really impactful. We had to get the National Guard from Jackson to get involved. There were houses that were flooded. And you have to also keep in mind that a lot of our students that attend Lower Richland High School, they live in dirt roads. So with the flood, there was no way to get into the community or out. And so moving forward, not only was think about an evacuation plan or just the communication to gain support and response, but what is the quality of the water that's going on in the area? And so during our action plan meeting, we decided to have various objectives, one centering on flooding, sorry, and developing an early warning system. And so we were initially thinking about a community water monitoring initiative, but we thought it would also be best to bring the high school students to gain more exposure to the water field as well as the environmental field, and to teach the youth how it is important to get involved when it comes to these type of measures. Which kind of brings us into the South Carolina Adopt a Stream program, which is a volunteer-based program spearheaded out of DHEC that actively engage in the protection and management of South Carolina waterways through direct involvement of monitoring and reporting. Essentially, it raises awareness with the communities on the understanding of water pollution, watershed management, how land use changes can affect the quality of the water, and just kind of emphasizing the importance of going out there and taking initiative within your environment to not only obtain the data, but share the data with other people who may not be aware. The adoption program can be utilized individually or with a group. And so there's many organizations such as the Gill Creek Watershed Association that use the Adopt Stream kits. But another large group that's part of the adoption program is Carolina Water Club, which is a professional academic student organization based at the University of South Carolina. It was founded in 2018, but re-established in 2022 with the mission to bring young professionals into the water field, emphasizing citizen science, and to bring more awareness to the water profession and how important it is. So through this chapter, we created many partnerships such as the Congaree Riverkeeper, the Palmetto Pride, Adopt a Stream, as I was saying, the Gills Creek Watershed Association, and now Lower Richland High School. And this consists of monthly monitoring. We have one or a couple, but the main site that we sample is Maxie Gregg Park, which is right outside of 5 Points. And Lanai will go a little bit more about that process with Lower Richland. And so we wanted to identify water quality. We wanted it to be on a community level. And we have this program that DHEC's offering that allows individuals to sample. And then we already have an organization at USC that's already doing the sampling. So it just makes sense to collaborate all together. So with the Carolina Water Club, working with EJ Strong and going out sampling with the students, some outcomes will be for the high school students, which is learn about water quality and its impact in the community, interpreting what they're finding and reporting the quality of data for the public's knowledge, and essentially just engaging students in the water monitor and sampling and getting them more exposure to the water field as well as the environmental field. And so within the spring cohort, we had 4 different sampling events, which Lanai will also talk about a little later. And out of the sampling, 2 of them were considered workshops, certification sessions.
So due to the amount of students we had participating, we decided to locate 2 sites so that the students can be more engaged and get hands-on experience sampling. Also, when picking the sites, we wanted to make sure that they were located within Lower Richland so the students can gain knowledge about their water resources and its quality within their community. The 2 sites that we decided on was King Snake's Trailhead and Bannister Bridge Canoe Access, which are both a part of Congaree National Park So we had to make sure we obtained permits to get access for these sites. And also, these locations were not too far from the Lower Richland High School, where the students were being transported from. Here's some pictures at the King Snake Trailhead site from the first sampling event, which was on February 10th, you saw in the previous slide. For the event, we had a total of 21 students from the Lower Richland High School STEM program out sampling with us. Also, since there were two different locations, the students were able to alternate locations for the sampling events, just giving them more exposure to different water resources within their community. So to test the water quality, the students used South Carolina DHEC's Adopt a Scream freshwater kits. These kits allowed them to test for pH, dissolved oxygen, temperature, and transparency. Here you can see is a cutout of one of the students' worksheets for the first sampling event at the King Snake Trail location. Looking at the dissolved oxygen row, you can see the results were not within the acceptable duplicate precision range. So they ended up doing this test over, but this was just a good learning experience about sampling methods and procedures for them. Also, while carrying out these tests, they learned more in-depth information about all of the water quality parameters. For example, it was explained to students that more rapid moving water would increase the DO because the screen that we were at was pretty steady, and also how low dissolved oxygen can cause negative impacts like fish kills. And following the sampling events, all of this data was entered and stored in the screen database to track any changes over time. And another task that the students did was the stream habitat assessment, which monitors any changes within the stream. These are typically done once a year, but they can be done more often based on the changes at the site. And while doing the assessment, they gain knowledge of how the health of their environment and water resources is related to their health. Also, how human impacts such as urban development, agriculture practices, industrial activities, and climate change can impair water quality.
And this is right here is just a flyer of the Lower Richland Adopt Stream workshop. So although the students were doing sampling, in order for them to go out on their own and do their own sampling, because in the community we have a lot of houses that are nearby streams and rivers, such as my house. And so say if the students want to go sampling on their own, get their own kits, they will have to get certified, which means a personnel from DHEC or a certified trainer goes out, whether it's a one-on-one or a group or a workshop setting where it's an in-class facilitation. So going over the adoption program, the parameters, as Lanaya was stating, and then they go outside to do the outside demonstration, and then they do a certification test. So once they complete the workshop, they are now certified volunteers to go out into their local waterways and do sampling. And then once they obtain their data, upload it on the Adopt Stream database that is accessible for the public. And so within this cohort, we had 2 workshops, one in March, which was more so focused on the community. So we had participants from E.J. Strong and just locals from the community that were able to get certified. And then we had another one in April, which was the last session in the cohort for the students, where the students of the C.E.A.L program and the teachers were able to get certified. And these are just pictures of the workshop. As I was saying, this was the last session, and something just significant just to highlight was usually people are introduced to the kits and testing during the first workshop. But because the students, by the time the workshop started, this would be their third time, they caught on really quick. They were very engaged. They knew what they were doing. And just to kind of highlight what Sierra Hilton said, which is our DX personnel and coordinator, she said this was the fastest workshop she ever done, and how she was just shocked pleasantly surprised how the kids knew what she was talking about and did a fantastic job doing the outside demonstration. So that just goes to show that the kids were actually learning. They were highly engaged. It got to the point where they start doing the procedures by themselves. They didn't need our help. So it was just nice that this program worked out in ways the kids are learning and actually comprehending and, doing their own thing with it.
Can I add, Beata, really
Yes.
quick? I just wanted to say that since they did become certified, that was a resume builder as well. Like a lot of them decided that they wanted to go into environmental fields when they went off to college. So that's something they could put on their resume as a resume builder.
Right. I totally agree. And so just to go over some of the results and findings, 15 students actually completed the Lower Richland C.E.A.L cohort. So that means going through the all the sessions and going to the workshop. So that was 15 students. 10 community members completed the Adopt Stream workshop. So in total, there are 25 new certified volunteers in the Lower Richland community that can go out and sample on their own. Based off results, the pH levels were in compliance for the freshwater state standards from February through April. Dissolved oxygen, however, exceeded the levels in February, but it decreased in March and April, complying with standards. And this picture right here is their ceremony where they received their certificates. They were able to kind of do a short video of what they learned. And a lot of people, a lot of the students mentioned how they were happy to get the exposure into the water field. And these were juniors and seniors, so they're at the time where they're trying to figure out what they want to do for school, what college, what are they really interested in. So I really think the C.E.A.L initiative brought that type of exposure to the environmental field in which they may be interested in pursuing. And so overall, the initiative was a success. We hope to continue this initiative, especially when the fall. We have a lot of students from the teachers who weren't able to join the spring cohort, but they were really excited about if there's a possibility to do it again, they would definitely be involved. And I also see this initiative getting picked up not only just at the high school level, but maybe the middle school as well as throughout the district. So maybe it can be a state initiative or a national initiative. The sky's the limit at this point, but just bringing more exposure to the students. And I'm just, you know, excited that the students really enjoyed the initiative and they're able to take something and learn. And not only are you learning, but you're being an environmental steward in your own community. And so, Lanai, if you had anything else to say?
I probably would just add that I felt the same. I just was excited to see the students excited about learning something different and then just exposing them to those different careers. A lot of them didn't have family members who are in like environmental services or just in that environmental realm as a career. So it felt nice to expose them to different opportunities.
And so this is our contact information. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. And that is the end of our Biosphere Bites. Thank you.
That
Thank
was
you guys.
amazing. Thank you. Yeah, I feel so inspired by what you just shared. And one thing I want to call out specifically is it seems like there's multiple levels of youth engagement going on in this program through the water club at the university, sort of doing some mentorship with the high school students. And then it sounds like there might be an opportunity for the high school students to mentor the middle school students. And it's just a really nice program and way to, give youth the power in a really tangible way. So thank you so much for this, and I'll open it up to questions. Kelly?
And
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. And just to kind of something that we did leave out is the students not only gained a certificate, but they were also received a stipend for joining the program. And so that was another layer of something that benefit the students. I know a lot of them were excited about receiving the stipend, and so that was just another incentive for them participating in the cohort as well.
I just wanted to first thank you both. As Katie said, this is really inspiring, and I've been looking forward to your Biosphere Bites for months now. So once I heard you were doing this, and I just want to echo what Katie said. I think this is a really interesting example of kind of layered ways to empower youth. So I think we can all learn from this. And I know that you mentioned at the end, that this could be scaled, but I think this truly is a model. Biospheres are meant to be bottom up. And I think that the model that you've created here, like you said, it engages youth, it allows them, it gives them money, and it helps them build a resume and be connected to the environment in so many ways. So I'm just curious, from your perspective, how, if at all, do you see this to potentially scale it to other biospheres? Because that's, I'm thinking kind of at the US level and maybe beyond, because I do think it's a really excellent example.
I do think this could be something that's done in other biospheres. As we were talking about before, just like engaging students at different levels. So reaching out to some of the colleges within those areas, the high school, and like we work with the STEM program at this high school. So reaching out, like using the resources that you have there. So like the Carolina Water Club that we were talking about, that consists of undergraduate students as well as graduate students. So just reaching out to some of the schools that you have in the area.
And can I just add that when I was in high school, I was part of JRTC. And so we did a lot of community service hours. And I was thinking, that could be also another avenue for not only STEM, but JRTC, people who want to build, or just any student that wants to gain more community service hours as well. So I can see this not only, and even with the Adopt Stream program, they model it so that any citizen can join. So it doesn't mean that you have to have an environmental background or you have to be like a scientist. They make it to where anybody can join. And even during my workshop certification, it was a mother and son who did it together. It was a way for them to bond as well. So that's what I just like about it, is you're bringing the community together.
Excellent. Thank you both again.
Chris?
Yeah, thank you. So it was absolutely fantastic, and the word inspiring has come up. There's sort of no doubt about it. I wanted to give maybe kind of another different perspective. Really, I mean, following the same comment, and that is that UNESCO is in a sense facing a crisis, that a lot of people that are doing the work are kind of old graybeards that are eventually kind of wander off into the sunset, and unless somebody comes along to kind of replace them, there's going to be a problem. And so I think that this is obviously just a wonderful day for youth engagement. So I guess the point that I'm making is, in addition to all these benefits, since this is done in Congaree, associated with MAB, this is also hopefully a great opportunity to let the kids, and not just the kids, all of you, just kind of become more aware of UNESCO and MAB and sort of how that fits in. So I guess the only process question I have is choosing a sampling location that has snakes in the name, but it looks like y'all prevailed, so I'll go on. So thank you so much. That was just great.
Thank you.
We have time for one more question, if folks have any.
Well, I'll jump in if I may. This is John Dennis. I'm a retired Park Service person, and I have two questions. One sort of follows on Chris's comment, and that is, did you mention to the participants that they were working in a biosphere region and help them begin to understand what that is? And my other question is, from the Park Service perspective, did the park use the scientific research in collecting permit as the permit process for the sampling sites? And if so, how did you find getting that permit and following the requirements of it work out?
So to answer your first question, another neat thing about working with the students were we were able to kind of talk to them about our personal journeys, because at this point, Lanai and I are both in graduate school, so we did undergrad. So they were able to ask us a lot of questions about like, what are you guys involved in? What was your process? And I always tell them like, you know, take any opportunity that you can, even if it sounds like it's not for you, still take a risk and being heavily involved. So we talked about how we're involved in not only Water Club, but EJ Strong. We're part of the Biosphere. We work closely with the community leaders and members like Mr. Reese. And so getting them kind of familiar with taking charge and taking their own initiatives and joining. As far as the process of obtaining, I want to kind of thank the Congaree National Park as well as John Grego. He's actually has been sampling around the community for years. He's president of the Friends of the Congaree, and they do a lot of sampling. So actually, Veterans Day, Mr. Grego and I did a lot of scouting for different sites, but we also have to keep in mind of whether it's a private property. Do we need permission before we actually go out and get a permit? The two access points are part of the Congaree boundary. And so you can actually apply for a permit because you can't take any type of testing or a specimen without a permit. And so I had a ranger help me out with a lot of that. And the findings that we found were included in our annual report that you have to submit in order to keep your permit.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you both so much. This was wonderful, and I'm excited for folks to be able to view this recording and catch up on all the great work that you've been doing. And like Kelly said, this is a real model for other biosphere regions, and I'm excited to potentially see it be scaled up. So again, folks, we won't meet again until September 11th. Enjoy the summer and see you soon.
Thank
Thank you, and
you.
I will second. It's a
Thank
great
y'all.
model for other biospheres.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.